Give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
Okay.
Yes?
Now go back to the Zoom screen. Click on the Zoom screen. So you're live, you can start talking.
Welcome to all our Facebook friends. Welcome to the Institute for Spiritual Development. Thanks for joining us at our Sunday service here on Facebook. Today, we are a God-centered, metaphysical, inclusive church and school dedicated to the growth of our spiritual awareness in an atmosphere of unconditional love and acceptance. Welcome home. You have joined us partway on our normal Zoom service. If you would like to attend the whole service, then join us at the Zoom link listed at the ISD Oneonta.org. Today's reading and homily is presented by Reverend Diana Friedell, the pastor and co-director of the Oneonta chapter of the national organization. So please welcome Diana.
Thank you, Lynda. The title of my homily today is Splash, How Small Actions Have Small Effects. And my first reading today is a quote from Mother Teresa. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. My second reading is a quote by Vincent van Gogh. Great things are done by a series of small things brought together. I'll read that one more time. Imagine his paintings as you think of that. His painting style. Great things are done by a series of small things brought together. I recently listened to a woman recounting her near-death experience. It was on the Jeff Mara podcast on YouTube. I'm a big fan of that. I can't seem to stop listening to near-death experiences. And the accident that brought this woman close to death doesn't matter, but she said that when it came time for her life review with God or beings of light, she realized that she would be shown events from her own life that showed the impact of her actions. She had done a lot of good things in her life and was expecting to see some very prominent and impactful things that she had done. She had served on boards. She had contributed so much to the betterment of her community. But what she was shown, she was a very inconsequential moment that she had long forgotten about it. What was it? Well, she was in line at the grocery store, and there was this scene unfolding where she was in line at the grocery store, and there was a young mother with two small children who didn't have enough money to pay for all the things in her grocery cart. And she was in that embarrassing situation of having to put some items back. The mother was all stressed out. And seeing this, the woman looking at this scene in her life review, reached into her wallet and handed the young mother $20 so she could pay for everything that was in the cart that she needed for her children. Seemingly minor act of goodwill. She didn't think it was anything really big. But when the images in her life review fast forwarded to the young mother years later, who, as a result of this kind gesture, had become the director of an impactful charity organization. And she had assisted thousands of young families to get the support that they needed through hard times to raise their families. So today we're going to be talking about small actions that we can take toward a better world, changing our perspective, and the scientific benefit to our well-being when we do help others. Have you ever been in line for groceries behind someone who's taking too long, or behind a very slow driver, finding yourself impatient and fuming over the waste of my precious time? What if we could put ourselves in that slow shopper or that slow driver's shoes and find a more compassionate reaction? An article in Forbes magazine by Tracy Brower cites a study that shows that if you can switch your perspective from the me point of view to see the situation from the other person's point of view, you'll find a more empathic response and find some way that you can be more help. And it's something that she calls perspective taking. In our family, whenever we're stuck behind a slow driver, we say, uh-oh, old man with a hat. And then I would imagine that man was my own grandfather, and patience and kindness would flood over me, knocking out the annoyance and the anger at being held up. After all, given my grandfather's hearing and eyesight, I want him to drive more slowly because he's the one who would be causing an accident. In a review of many studies looking at the effect of volunteering in the Journal of Psychological Medicine, they've come to the conclusion that people who volunteer are more healthy physically and mentally. And people who take actions to help others, especially if it's a spur of the moment, that kind of kindness or informal helping kind of act, are the beneficiary of even more well-being. And here are two examples of small acts of kindness that had a big splash. Thank you, Reader's Digest. In the first one, 2 firefighters were waiting in line at a fast food restaurant when the siren sounded on the truck that was parked outside. And as they turned to leave, a couple who had just been handed their order saw the firemen and turned around and gave their food order to the fireman. And the couple then got back in line to reorder, and they ordered their food, and the owner of the restaurant said, no, that food is on me, returning the gesture. I refused to take any money. And that comes from Joanne Sanderson in Brandon, Florida. In the second story, a young man turning 21 wanted his parents to contribute any money that they would have given him for his 21st birthday to some charitable cause. No, I don't want the money. Give it away. So his mother, after much thought, withdrew 21 $10 bills from the bank and also bought 21 apples. She walked around the city giving each homeless person she met an apple and a $10 bill. And while her husband made a video, which was going to be the gift for their son, whose name is Max. And she would say, today is my son's Max's 21st birthday. He asked me to give a gift to someone to help him celebrate. And whoever she handed the $10 bill and the apple to would say, happy birthday, Max. And soon they had passed out all the booty to the men and women waiting in line at a soup kitchen. And in a unified chorus, they all wished Max happy birthday. And at a pizza parlor, Andrea left $50 and told the owners, please feed anyone who doesn't have enough money, anyone who's hungry and asks for something. And everybody in the restaurant yelled out, happy birthday, Max. And with one last $10 bill and an apple, they stopped at Andrea's sister's office. And her sister, unable to contain her laughter or her tears, she bellowed into the camera, happy birthday, Max. And so that's the end of that story. Thank you. So another way to have a small action, a kind action, have a big effect is to share our positive stories on social media. Maybe some of you do that when somebody sent you a heartwarming story share that instead of something horrible, right? I'm going to be someone who's going to spread the positivity. Those of us at ISD are on a more spiritual nature, try to make our sharing be something more like that. Expand that kindness, emphasize it. So even for those who are reading about those positive efforts, encourages all of us and gives us hope. So those stories are inspiring, but how can we make a difference in the massive problems our country is facing now? It just feels so overwhelming. And my tiny part that even if I do something, feels completely useless. And the one example I was going to use today is that, as we know, there are almost 100,000 immigrants in New York City alone right now seeking asylum. And they're waiting to be helped, living in tents in Central Park and several other parks in Brooklyn and Queens right now. And the problem is so complicated, and it's heart-rending and exhausting. Solutions are slow in coming. Our charitable organizations that normally can handle this kind of thing are overwhelmed. There is more coverage of the problem and the political disagreements over it than there are stories of migrants being successfully helped. Compassion for our fellow human beings seems to be lost, and there seems to be no road out for our brothers and sisters, the migrants who have landed here looking for a new life. And it's just so easy. It's so overwhelming. I'm just going to turn a blind eye to the situation. I don't want to watch the news. I'm feeling that there's nothing that we personally can do in the face of such an overwhelming situation. The same situation, by the way, is being faced, as we know, by so many cities in the US and maybe across the world. There's 6 million migrants looking for help and asylum in the US. And the press coverage is mostly about the inconvenience and problems the migrants are causing to the US citizens. Looking at it from my point of view, this is inconvenient. My rec center is being closed down. My children can't go to camp. And what if we actually tried perspective taking? So switching our perspective, as Tracy Bauer suggests. What's it like to be a stranger in a strange land without a home? Is having escaped from a horrible situation without warm clothes for the winter, facing winter for the first time in your life, uncertain where your next meal will come from, not a penny to your name or a roof over your head, standing in lines, waiting months for the right paperwork to claim asylum. Ironically, New York City was built by immigrants. Built by immigrants. And unless you are 100% Native American, your ancestors entered this country in the exact same way, willingly, or as my husband was reminding me, unwillingly. Those people who we would like to think of as other than are actually me. There is no us and them here, only us and us. I believe in a world that works for everyone, with no one and nothing left out. And if you've ever taken the S training, you may recognize that as a principle to live by. And that the S training, if you remember, now called the Forum, kind of a self-help program that many of us went through. Werner Erhard, the founder of the S training, said in his biography, and he's still alive, he's like 97 years old, by the way, I'd have to look that up, and his program is still thriving. Sometime around now, it may have happened 5 years ago or 50 years ago, but sometime around now, the rules for living successfully on this planet shifted. We can no longer hope to live meaningful, purposeful lives using the rules of a you or me world. It's becoming clearer and clearer to those who will look to, it's becoming clearer and clearer to those who will look that in order to live successfully on this planet, we must discover and live by the rules of you and me. End quote. Transforming the way we operate on this planet is a pretty huge task, yes? And little old me can't do it by myself. But if many, many people share this intention to live by the rules of you and me and take small actions towards that goal, as Mother Teresa said, there is a ripple effect. So what can we do? Even small actions to help take care of us. In my talk today, I've addressed only one of the many crises our world is facing right now, immigration in New York. I don't know all the answers. And thank God there are people and many organizations who have dedicated their lives to helping and finding the answers. But for the rest of us, we need small, doable tasks. Because as Vincent van Gogh said, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. There are dozens of community organizations we can contribute money or time to. Just look online. And before I give the examples of that, I just wanted to mention that my daughter-in-law coming in from Venezuela 7 years ago, it took her almost all that time to get her green card and is now applying for to become a citizen. So people even doing it the right way hit red tape after red tape after red tape. It just takes so long. So I hope that our system now finds a way to speed this up and allow honorable citizens in more easily. So there's so many ways to contribute. The United Way of New York City, Emergency Assistance and Community, the South Bronx Mutual Aid Society, the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, and many other groups, so many who are offering many, many ways that you can volunteer. You just look online, how can I help? And everything pops up. So small, kind actions are the powerful key to making positive changes, even in huge tasks like making the world a better place. Let's take the lead. Let all of us take the lead and look for ways that kind actions will make a difference. When you lead, other people follow. And I'm going to end with a quote, some very wonderful, inspiring words from Thomas Gordon, who is a corporate trainer. Don't underestimate the importance of your own behavior. Little things that you do can make a difference, even if there is no immediately apparent result. An act of kindness may have profound effects that you never see. An act of malice can do the same. Just because you don't fully understand how the system works, don't let that prevent you from trying to make it better. Remember that no one else understands it either. Our best choice is to proceed with those actions that we believe are the right things to do, and try not to be too discouraged when we don't get immediate results. Thank you. And I'll say goodbye to Facebook, and thank you all for your attendance today. I hope this inspired you, and please join us on future events and find our guided meditations healing program coming up starting on September 14th, intuitive practitioner program, and larger intuition as well. So many wonderful classes and events. Come play with us. ISD Oneonta.org is our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Yes.
Really
You
well.
can end.
Thank you, Diane.